Hello. I'm here not to promote any new diet fad or an exercise regime or my new book that I just wrote because I haven't written a book. However, I am here to tell you about the collective research I've gathered into my brain over the last couple weeks about the ketogenic diet. The ketogenic diet has its origins in the early 1920s. In 1921, Mr. Roland Woodyard reviewed research on diet and diabetes and found that a low glucose and low carbohydrate diet would result in your body using an alternative energy source, that energy source being ketone bodies. This was further developed by Mr. Russell Wilder, who found that a high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet could be effective in the treatment of epilepsy. Now, the ketogenic diet was actually used for years to effectively treat epilepsy. That is, until the development of pharmaceuticals and drugs to treat epilepsy.
Now, this is understandable because it's a lot easier to take a pill than to stop eating donuts.
I became very interested in a high-fat diet when my aunt began eating bacon and cheese and started losing weight.
But wait just a second. Anecdotal evidence is not science.
That is true. Anecdotal evidence may not be very hard science. However, it is very interesting that compared to all of the diets she's been on, this is not only the tastiest, but also the most effective. Now, essentially, your body runs on sugar, right? Your body, your muscles, your brain burn sugar for fuel. However, what happens when you remove carbohydrates and sugars from your diet is very interesting. Your body and your brain will start using an alternative energy source. Your body can switch from glucose utilization to ketone body and fatty acid utilization for energy. And while the brain of a standard American runs primarily on glucose, the longer you're on a ketogenic diet, the more your brain will utilize ketone bodies as energy source. And it seems that your brain runs very well on ketone bodies, actually.
And scientifically speaking, the less sugar you eat, the less sweet your brains will taste to zombies.
So what would your meals be like on a diet like this?
Cheese and bacon quiche.
Eggs and bacon for breakfast. Almond butter for lunch.
Steak for dinner, but no potatoes. Bacon cheese hamburger for lunch, but no buns and no french fries.
Now, it's kind of important to remember that whenever you're starting a diet, relapses are okay. However, when you let that relapse become 5 relapses in a row, it becomes a pattern. I don't even like to think about diets as diets. I prefer to think about them as lifestyle changes.
So what? I use coconut oil when I'm cooking and I eat a lot of peanut butter. I love peanut butter.
The Inuits are a good example of people who ate a heck of a lot of fat and protein and very little carbohydrates. I mean, 9 months out of the year, all they eat is seal meat and whale blubber. Now, despite this high blubber, low whole wheat bagel diet, the Inuit people are found to have very good health, including low rates of cardiovascular disease.
Hey baby, you wanna go get some bacon? I like bacon.
One more thing I want to talk about was Alzheimer's disease. Now, what does Alzheimer's have to do with a ketogenic diet? You know how in type 1 diabetes your pancreas can't produce insulin? And you know how in type 2 diabetes the insulin receptors on your cell membranes become less responsive, creating a peripheral insulin resistance? Well, it seems to be that the exact same thing happens in the brain during Alzheimer's. That there's a strong link between Alzheimer's disease and diabetes was already known. But this link between Alzheimer's and crappy glucose metabolism has become more clear due to recent studies. What's even more interesting is that the hormone that breaks down insulin happens to be a hormone that also seems to break down amyloid beta. And amyloid plaques are one of the signature signs of Alzheimer's. Now, even though mankind has been eating food since the beginning of history, diet is still a controversial subject nowadays. Now, what can make this even more confusing is that some of the best and biggest research studies on health and obesity have been funded by pharmaceutical companies and those with obvious conflicts of interest such as Pepsi and Gatorade. Now, I always encourage people to do research before they take action. But I encourage people to be careful because crazy people and biased studies are here, there, and everywhere. But for right now, hopefully we can all make some sound decisions based on the information that we have at hand.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys watching. Now, if you have any questions, critiques, or information that you would like me to go over, I would appreciate it.